Is pride and ego possibly getting in the way of your growth and advancement?
And are you humble enough to accept feedback? Today's topic is how do we make feedback the catalyst for our change?
Welcome to the Influencers Journey Show. My name is Suzanne Hart.
And I'm Taria Hodge.
Each week, the question we set out to answer is how does the average professional and entrepreneur become a person of influence who magnetically attracts their divine client and builds a loyal following?
And also, what skills must you learn? And most importantly, who are you required to become?
Who are you required to become? That is such a great question. And we're going to dive into that a little bit today as I have the privilege to sit down and interview none other than my co-host, Taria Hodge. Yay! And, as we jump into this, we're going to talk about, the whole concept of receiving feedback and acting on it. And I got to say, Taria, for me, some of the best supervisors that I've ever had, some of the best mentors and coaches are those individuals that are willing to give me the toughest feedback. The feedback that sometimes makes you a little upset, the feedback that brings tears to your eyes, the feedback that is so confronting that you wish it wasn't you, but it truly is, those mentors. I have to tell you, when I first got into social services, now this is eons ago, I was doing court work. And part of doing court work is writing court reports. And I remember giving my court report to my supervisor, my then supervisor, Cherie Elder. And I would get it back covered with red ink, like literally covered with red ink. It was so embarrassing, right? And, and no matter what I did, there was constant, persistent feedback. Now, deep down inside, I knew that what she was telling me was truth. But it was confronting. And it was the first time that someone was willing to hold up a mirror and tell me who and show me who I was being. So I remember one day in supervision, and she gave me some feedback. And I looked at her and almost welled up in tears. I said, I don't think you like me. And I'll never forget what she did. She sat there and she paused. And then she said, Suzanne, it doesn't matter whether I like you. You must be more concerned with whether I respect you enough to give you feedback. She says, my job is to see the brilliance inside of you and help you find it. Yeah. I had nothing else to say.
Yeah.
After that, I was so open to receive. And I will say to you, some of the feedback and transformations that woman helped me find for myself and go through created the foundation of the work I do today. So I'm forever grateful for Ms. Cherie Elder, who had the courage to just look into me, hold up that mirror, and tell me who I was being and who I had the possibility of becoming. How many of you listening would like to have that person in your life?
Oh, yeah.
Right? The person who has the courage to step up. And even if they know it's going to be difficult, to tell you what you need to know to meet your best self. Yeah. That's what we're going to be diving into today. So to set the stage, what I want to ask you, Taria, is to just share with everybody the moment you figured out that your business was stalling out.
Oh my goodness. And it's, yeah, I remember not so long ago, actually a few years ago, when I decided to launch out and build my entrepreneurial brand. So, just a little bit of the backstory. I spent most of my entrepreneurial journey supporting other influential brands and being behind the scenes. And I just remember that feeling of, oh my gosh, there's so much more that I could be doing. There's ways that I could be growing my business, and I decided to step out and launch. And it was a hard reality when I stepped out to find that my business wasn't taking off the way I anticipated it taking off. And it was one of those things where I thought it was the learning, and I thought it was the skills, or the gadgets and the tools. So I spent a lot of time you know trying to figure out, is it, what else do I need to learn? What is it that I'm missing? And the thing about it for me that was so surprising, it wasn't another program or it wasn't another tool that I needed to have in my toolbox. It was actually me. I was actually the problem, in my business. And when I tell you, it was such a hard reality to to come to and to recognize that I'm the bottleneck, or I'm the blocker. I'm the one who's standing in the way of my own success. And it's that realization where you say to yourself, like, oh my gosh, like, what am I gonna do here? I really have to, own up and say that I need some help. And I have to say, it was a very scary and very challenging, position for me to be in, because then all of these questions started to store up for me, like, oh my gosh, who can I really be honest with about this? And
Mhm.
all of a sudden, I started to feel so alone in my business. Now, I know that that might sound crazy to a lot of our super achievers out there, like, oh my gosh, how can you feel alone in your business and you're surrounded by all of these, wonderful people? But the thing is, I internalized it, like, oh my gosh, I spent so much time showing up as the person who, wanted to know everything, and always have the answers, for stuff, and prided myself when people come to me for help, I'm able to help them. So how does the person who's always there in the position to serve and willing to help others, like, truly admit, like, oh my gosh, I
Mhm.
don't have it all together? And so all of the things like the imposter syndrome, all of those things, started to surface for me. But yes, it was that realization that if I don't take a hard look at what's going on, with the business, what's going on with myself, then, I won't grow. I'll just be stuck
Yeah.
in the same place.
This is such a great topic, and what I love about it is the realization that it's not skills, it's not
Mhm.
necessarily experience.
Right,
Because how many of you are coming to the table with great skills
right.
and years of experience, but there's still something, and that something is you. And I love what I get to do because mindset mastery is about mastering self. Mindset mastery is about each of us finding out who we be and how
Mhm.
we show up. And the real question is, are you and I willing to take a close look in
Right.
the mirror and make those changes around how we think, how we manage our emotions, our
Mhm.
habits, our behaviors, so that we can begin to behave and perform in a way that moves us in the direction we desire to go. Because our habits and behaviors are either moving us towards our goals or
Right.
them in a totally different direction, or they just have us stuck standing still. It's our job to take that look. So